Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the class. We are doing the chapter The Making of the National Movement 1870s to 1947. And under this chapter, we have discussed about the moderates in the Indian National Congress, the methods and objectives of moderates within Indian National Congress who were very prominent in the first 20 years of its establishment. But at the same time, we find that there were some leaders in 1890s, we can say in the decade of 1890, some leaders in this INC, Indian National Congress, uh, started to raise question about the political style of the Congress, means the moderate objective, the moderate method adopted by the Congress was now being questioned, and there were three prominent leaders as we have discussed in the previous class, that is Lal, Bal and Pal. Lal is Lala Lajpat Rai, Bal is Bal Gangadhar Tilak, and Pal is Bipin Chandra Pal. So we have seen that these three leaders were prominent in criticizing the moderates for their politics of prayers. They didn't believe in this that we will demand we will put demand in front of the British government, and then British government will make improvement, it will bring reforms according to our demand. That is called by them as politics of prayers. And these leaders actually they believed in radical objectives and methods. Radical means when we want to change something completely from the root itself, we want to change something, that is called radical, complete change. These people who got their leadership in Lal, Bal and Pal, they believed that the Congress should not follow the politics of prayers, and they emphasized on the importance of self-reliance and constructive work. So they did not believe in the politics of prayers. It was done by the moderate method was defined as politics of prayer by these radicals, and they argued that people should rely on their own strength, not on the good intention of the government. It is not something like we should not be dependent on the government. Instead of being becoming dependent on the government, we should fight for Swaraj. With this comes the word Swaraj. Swaraj means our own rule, because we were under the British rule, and the British rule was not our own rule, it was the rule of the foreigners. So now came the idea of Swaraj. It means ki we should be ruled by ourselves only. And Bal Gangadhar Tilak, his famous slogan, freedom is my birthright and I shall have it. So we find that this idea of idea of Swaraj came in with these radicals who did not believe in the politics of prayers, who did not believe in the moderate methods and objectives, isn't it? And the famous slogan of Bal Gangadhar Tilak was given: freedom is my birthright. Freedom is my birthright and I shall have it. मैं इसे लेके रहूँगा. No one can stop me because it's my birthright. Every human being takes birth freely. When a person takes birth, he is completely free. So that is birthright. It is given by God and no one can take away from us. And what we find, there was a major political development in the year 1905, and that is division of Bengal in 1905 by Viceroy Curzon. At that time, Bengal was the biggest province of British India, and it was not like today's Bengal. Today, the West Bengal, which is one of the most important states of India, it is not like that only. West Bengal plus Bangladesh plus Bihar and some parts of Orissa. All these were included in Bengal. So it was a very big province, the biggest province of British India. And this partition of Bengal was very crucial. Though the British were of the opinion, they argued that Bengal was divided because of administrative convenience. Because the province is very big, so we have divided it so that we can administer the province conveniently. But here we find that the British were not, it's not only about administrative convenience. Okay, why we see that this decision of partition of Bengal was closely related to the interest of British officials and businessmen. So we find that there should have been, what should have been done, that non-Bengali areas were not removed from the province, and the government simply separated East Bengal and merged it with Assam. So the main motive of the British was to curtail the influence of Bengali politicians and split the Bengali people. That is divide and rule. The main purpose was something different, which was shown to the people, that the partition is important for partition is done for administrative convenience, but actually there was some hidden purpose. So what we find that this decision of the government to divide the Bengal, it caused a high degree of dissatisfaction among the people. The people become very infuriated, they became very aggressive, and in Congress also we find that the leaders, all the leaders, be it moderate or radical, they all opposed this step of the government, this move of the government. And in order to show their opposition to this decision of the government, what we find that large public meetings were done by the Congress, demonstrations were organized by the Congress, and now a new method of mass protest developed for the first time. This was the first time in 1905. In the country witnessed for the first time mass protest, and movement, we can say, which started this mass protest, which started to oppose the partition of the Bengal. It was actually called Swadeshi movement. Swadeshi movement. So this Swadeshi movement was strongest in Bengal, but it's not that it was limited only to Bengal. We find that it was it was it has its influence in other states also, like Andhra. In Andhra, it was this movement, the same movement was known as Vande Mataram movement. Okay, so this is important for you. The Swadeshi movement was known by which name in Andhra? It was Vande Mataram movement. So this was the first movement in India, because against the British rule, against the decision of the British government. Before that, there was this revolt of 1857, and this kind of mass movement was not done. So this was the first mass movement of India, and this is the importance of this Swadeshi movement. Okay, and this we find that this movement was aimed at opposing the British rule and encouraged the ideas of self-help, Swadeshi enterprises, national education, and use of Indian language. So, in this, so many things were done, so many measures were adopted by the the leaders of India. Like people started boycotting the schools, government colleges. Lawyers started boycotting the courts. Then people started boycotting the clothes which were imported from Britain. So in this way, we find that so many events, so many happenings were done during the Swadeshi movement, and that is why the leaders, they wanted that there should be national education, there should be use of Indian language, and they emphasized on Swadeshi enterprises. So radicals advocated that if we want to bring Swaraj, there is need of mass mobilization, and there is need of boycott of British institutions and goods. So British clothes were boycotted, and British institutions like government schools, government colleges, courts were boycotted. So now there were also some other we can say some other leaders at that time, who also began to suggest that revolutionary violence will be the only way through which we can overthrow the British rule. So revolutionary violence was also started to be as a means to remove this British government. So we have seen there were three views, है One was moderate, second was extremist, that is Lal Malpal, and the third is revolutionary, who believed in violence. So there is a sharp difference between these three. And moderates wanted that the British government will bring improvement in itself by knowing the demands of the people, which can be known to the British government by the Congress party. The extremists, they believed that there must be mass mobilization and boycott of British institutions and goods, whereas the revolutionary believed in violence. They believed that violence is necessary to overthrow the British rule. Okay, so we find that at this time some other developments also took place, like we see that a group of Muslim landlords and Nawabs formed All India Muslim League at Dhaka in 1906. All India Muslim League. So, All India Muslim League was established in 1906, and this Muslim League supported partition of Bengal. That we can say that is not good for the people of India, because it was on the one hand we find that the Congress was opposing, not only Congress, most of the people were not in favor of this decision of the government, because it was not done for the administrative convenience, but it was done to weaken the feeling of nationalism in Bengal, which was rising very fast. So it was opposed by Congress. Congress was doing such mass mobilization, mass movement was done, but the league, the Muslim League, supported this partition of Bengal, and it also started demanding separate electorate for Muslim, and this demand was accepted by the government in 1909. So first of all, you should have an idea about a separate electorate. It is not possible at this age to understand this separate electorate minutely, in detail. You cannot understand it. You just need to understand that separate electorate is something in which the constituencies for election, it is about elections. Okay, in election we choose our representative by casting our vote. So when there is separate electorate, what happens that different communities will be there, and candidates will belong to a particular community only, and the people belonging to that community, voters belonging to that community, will only vote their leaders. So it's not key if someone is Muslim, then Muslim voter will vote only for the Muslim representative. A Hindu voter will only vote for a Hindu representative. A Hindu voter cannot vote for a Muslim representative. So this was the separate electorate. This was demanded by Muslim League. And what was the reason for this demand by Muslim League? Because Muslim League was of the opinion that Muslims are not getting adequate representation in India. So in order to ensure adequate representation of Muslims in India, it is very much important to adopt a separate electorate. But actually we can say that this only brings disharmony, and it only weakens the society. So we will continue with this discussion in the next class.